I cared for my paralyzed husband for years without a single complaint. Then one sentence from a stranger changed everything. My brother finally got a serious girlfriend, and I invited them over for dinner so she could meet my husband Patrick and his family. I had no idea she was about to destroy my entire life. I met Patrick when I was 26, and he swept me off my feet. 8 months into our marriage, he was in a car accident that severed his spinal cord and left him paralyzed from the waist down. At least that's what everyone told me. I quit my job to take care of him full-time. I bathed him and dressed him and lifted him in and out of his wheelchair every single day. I emptied my savings to modify our house with ramps and grab bars and a medical bed. His family was always around being supportive in their own way. His mother would say, "You're such a blessing to our family. I don't know what Patrick would do without you." His father built the wheelchair ramp himself and told me, "You're the daughter I always wanted." His sister would squeeze my hand and say, "Most women would have left by now. You're an absolute saint." Patrick told me constantly how sorry he was for being a burden. He would cry and say, "I don't deserve you. I'm so sorry I ruined your life like this." I would hold him and say, "You didn't ruin anything. I love you, and we're in this together forever." 3 years of my life went into taking care of that man. My brother started dating a woman named Yolanda, who was finishing her residency in physical rehabilitation medicine. I insisted everyone come to dinner so she could finally meet the family. Dinner was going fine until Yolanda asked Patrick about his injury. She said, "So the accident was 3 years ago? That must have been an intense recovery." Patrick nodded and said, "It's been hard, but I'm blessed to have such an amazing wife." Yolanda tilted her head and said, "Can I ask what level the injury was?" Patrick glanced at his mother before answering. He said, "T10, complete." Yolanda was quiet for a moment and then said, "I'm sorry, but I'm a little confused. A complete T10 injury for 3 years would typically show significant muscle atrophy in the lower extremities, but your legs look like you've been using them regularly." The table went dead silent. Patrick laughed nervously and said, "I do a lot of physical therapy." Yolanda said, "Physical therapy maintains some tone, but it doesn't prevent atrophy entirely. Your calves have full muscle definition. I see patients every day, and I've never seen that in someone who hasn't walked in 3 years." I looked at Patrick. His face was pale. I looked at his mother, and she was staring at her plate, refusing to look up. I said, "What are you saying?" Yolanda said, "I'm just observing that medically it doesn't add up." Patrick's sister stood up quickly and said, "I think we should clear the plates." I said, "Sit down." She sat. I turned to Patrick and said, "Stand up." He said, "You know I can't do that." I said, "Then you won't mind if Yolanda examines your legs right now." Patrick looked at his mother desperately. His mother said, "This is ridiculous. We're not going to subject him to some interrogation at dinner." My brother said, "Why is everyone acting so weird? If there's nothing wrong, just let her look." Patrick's father said, "This is a family matter." I said, "I'm his wife. Patrick, stand up right now, or I swear to God." Patrick gripped the arms of his wheelchair and slowly pushed himself up and up and up until he was standing on his own 2 legs looking down at me. I couldn't breathe. I whispered, "How long?" He didn't answer. I screamed it. "How long have you been able to walk?" His mother started crying and said, "It's not what you think." I said, "You knew?" I looked at his father and his sister. None of them could meet my eyes. I said, "You all knew this entire time." I was shaking so hard I had to grab the table. I said, "I quit my job. I emptied my savings. I destroyed my body lifting you in and out of that chair. 3 years, Patrick. Why would you do this to me?" His sister muttered something under her breath. I said, "What did you just say?" She looked at me with disgust and said, "You weren't supposed to stay this long. You were supposed to leave so he could get half in the divorce." I said, "Half of what?" Patrick's father said, "Your grandmother's inheritance, the house. He was entitled to half if you divorced him, but nothing if he divorced you. We thought if things got hard enough, you'd eventually give up and leave." I thought about every night I cried from exhaustion and felt guilty for wanting to quit. They were all waiting for me to abandon him. I said, "You made me your slave for 3 years for money." My brother grabbed Patrick by the shirt and slammed him against the wall so hard a picture frame shattered. Patrick's father moved toward them and my brother said, "Touch me and I'll put you through that window." I walked out the front door and never went back. Patrick and his parents are being sued for fraud and the divorce will be final next month. Yolanda is still dating my brother and I send her flowers every week.